Hello, dear friends. Welcome back to Golden Echoes Hub. It's Charlotte here, and I'm so glad you're joining me for our final story of the day. We've been sharing a new story every 2 hours as part of our launch collection, and this one's called The Recipe Box That Kept Our Family Close. It's a story about food, love, and the little things that tie us together across generations. So, settle in with a warm drink, maybe a slice of pie, and let's go back to a snowy Christmas Eve in 1998. My name's Charlotte Harper. I'm 80 now, living in my little seaside apartment in St. Augustine, Florida, where the ocean hums outside my window and the air smells of salt and sunshine. But today, I want to take you back to a time when I was 63. A time when my family felt scattered, and a small wooden box full of recipes brought us back together. This is the story of how that recipe box kept my family close, even through the hardest years. It was Christmas Eve, 1998. I'd been a widow for 6 years by then, ever since my husband Tom passed away in 92. Those years had been tough, adjusting to life without him, watching my children, Emily and Daniel, build their own lives far from home. Emily was in Raleigh, raising her 2 little ones, Lily and Ethan, who were just 4 and 2 that year. Daniel was in California, working long hours at a tech company, always too busy to visit. I was still in our old house in Asheville, North Carolina, a place that felt too big without Tom's laughter to fill it. That Christmas, I'd invited the whole family to come home. I wanted to recreate the holidays we'd had when the kids were young, full of warmth, laughter, and the smell of good food. Emily and the family were able to make the trip, but Daniel called a few days before to say he couldn't come. "I'm sorry, Mom," he said, his voice heavy with guilt. "Work's crazy right now. I'll try to visit soon." I told him I understood, but deep down I was heartbroken. It didn't feel like Christmas without all of us together. The day before Christmas Eve, I was in the kitchen, trying to get a head start on the cooking. I'd planned a big feast: turkey, mashed potatoes, green bean casserole. All the classics. But as I chopped onions and peeled potatoes, I felt this ache in my chest. The house was too quiet. Emily and the kids were arriving later that day, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was missing. I wanted my family to feel close again, the way we used to. That's when I remembered the recipe box. It was a small wooden box, painted with little daisies, that Tom had given me on our first anniversary. He'd carved it himself, and I'd filled it over the years with recipes, some from my mother, some from Tom's, some I'd created myself. It held all our family favorites. My mother's apple pie, Tom's cornbread stuffing, the sugar cookies I'd made with Emily and Daniel every Christmas. I hadn't opened it in years, not since Tom passed. It felt too painful, like opening a door to memories I wasn't ready to face. But that day, I needed something to hold on to. I pulled the box down from the shelf, dusted it off, and opened the lid. The smell of old paper and spices hit me, and I felt tears in my eyes. There they were, all the recipes that had filled our home with love, each one written in my handwriting, some with little notes in the margins like "Tom loves extra cinnamon" or "Daniel's favorite." I ran my fingers over the cards, remembering the Thanksgivings, the birthdays, the quiet Sunday dinners, and I knew what I had to do. When Emily and the kids arrived that afternoon, the house came alive with their laughter. Lily and Ethan ran through the living room, their little voices echoing off the walls, and I felt a warmth I hadn't felt in years. That evening, I gathered everyone in the kitchen. "We're going to make something special," I said, holding up the recipe box. "These are the recipes your grandpa and I used to make, the ones your mama and uncle grew up with. Let's bring them back tonight." Emily's eyes lit up. "Mama, I haven't seen that box in years," she said, taking it from me. She flipped through the cards, smiling at the memories. "Oh, the sugar cookies. We used to decorate them with so much frosting." Lily tugged at my apron. "Can we make the cookies, Grandma? Please?" Ethan nodded, his eyes wide. "I want to help too." So we did. I pulled out the recipe for my mother's sugar cookies, and we got to work. Emily mixed the dough, her hands steady and sure, just like she'd done as a girl. Lily and Ethan helped roll it out, giggling as they got flour on their noses. I showed them how to cut the dough into stars and bells, just like I'd done with their mama and uncle. We baked the cookies, the kitchen filling with the sweet smell of vanilla and sugar. And then we decorated them with icing and sprinkles. Lily made a star with so many sprinkles it looked like a disco ball. And Ethan drew a smiley face on a bell, saying, "This one's for Grandpa." As we worked, I told them stories about the first Christmas Tom and I spent together, how he'd burned the turkey but made the best stuffing I'd ever tasted, about the time Daniel ate so many sugar cookies he got a stomachache and swore he'd never eat them again, only to ask for more the next day. Emily laughed, adding her own memories, and the kids listened with wide eyes, soaking in every word. For the first time in years, I felt like my family was whole again, even with Daniel so far away. The next day, Christmas morning, we had our feast. The table was full. Turkey, stuffing, mashed potatoes, all made from the recipes in that little box. We ate until we couldn't eat anymore, and then we sat by the fire, the kids playing with their new toys while Emily and I sipped hot cocoa. I felt a peace I hadn't felt in a long time, like the recipe box had brought back more than just food. It had brought back the love, the laughter, the connection that had always held us together. A few weeks later, I got a call from Daniel. "Mom, I'm so sorry I missed Christmas," he said. "Emily told me about the recipe box, the cookies, everything. I wish I'd been there." I smiled, hearing the regret in his voice. "It's all right, sweetheart," I said. "But I'm sending you something." I mailed him a copy of the sugar cookie recipe, along with a note that said, "Make these with someone you love. That's what keeps us close." Daniel called me a month later, his voice bright. "Mom, I made the cookies with my girlfriend," he said. "We had the best time. It felt like I was back in Asheville with you and Dad." I could hear the smile in his voice, and I knew then that the recipe box had done its magic again. It wasn't just about the food. It was about the memories, the traditions, the love that lived in every recipe. Now, at 80, I still have that recipe box. It's here in St. Augustine with me, sitting on my kitchen counter, a little more worn, but just as precious. I use it every Christmas, and sometimes just because I miss the taste of home. Emily and the kids make the recipes too. And Daniel's even started teaching his own kids, my great-grandkids, how to bake those sugar cookies. That little box, with its faded daisies and handwritten cards, has kept my family close across the years, across the miles. It's a reminder that the simplest things, flour, sugar, a pinch of love, can hold us together no matter where life takes us. That's my story for today, dear friends. And the last one in our launch collection. If a recipe or any tradition has ever brought your family closer, I'd love to hear about it in the comments. We'll have more stories tomorrow, so be sure to subscribe to Golden Echoes Hub to keep the inspiration coming. Don't forget to like and comment. I'll see you soon.